Okay, so beginning in 2007, national group of folks led by the National School Climate Center and the National School Climate Council, and I am privileged to have been invited to be a part of that National School Climate Council, but there are members from all over the country gathered together to work on national school climate standards. Now, it stands to reason that we would do that because there are standards in everything else. We have the Common Core State Standards, we have NEAS standards, we have standards for physical education. We are standards-based and standards-driven. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but we also ought to be standards-based with respect to school climate. So if you didn't know, there are national school climate standards. They were finalized and put out there in 2010, and we have a link to them so that, and we'll show you. But these standards define climate in a very, very broad but inclusive way. And that definition is the character and quality of school life. Now, if you've had any awareness of the anti-bullying law, PA 11-232, we use that definition of climate, but we also said, and a special focus on the interrelationships among people in the school, because again, bullying is about mistreatment of people, and climate is about the positive treatment of people. And the center, as well as the council, is very comfortable with that kind of extension in the context of our anti-bullying law. But anyway, very simple definition, the character and quality of school life. So how does that translate? Well, first of all, the National School Climate Standards, just like the Common Core State Standards and any other set of standards you want it, whether they're standards of ethics, you know, we have the Connecticut Code of Professional Responsibility, and that particular code sets the standards for how our responsibilities to our students and our profession and our colleagues and so on. But the National School Climate Standards present a vision and framework for a positive and sustainable school climate. They complement the national standards for content, leadership, and professional development, and the Parent-Teacher Association's national standards for family-school partnership standards. So these are standards that align with other well-established standards. They're not different from them. And I am sure that there are many other organizations that have endorsed and included these standards. And if you look at this wide list, it's growing. I didn't check between the time I made this and because it's constantly being updated, but there are an awful lot of organizations. And districts in this state are beginning to take them to their school boards and adopting them within your district. And I highly encourage you to consider that, because as you will see, these are not standards anybody could say, nah, I don't want that. You know, I don't agree with that. That would, even if you said, I don't think you'd say it publicly. But anyway, here we go. Let me go through these standards. Here is standard 1, and the bold pieces are my emphasis. I think that there are pieces of the standards that are sort of emphasized, so understand this is the bold pieces jump out for me, and they're not in the standard document. Standard 1, the school community has a shared vision and plan for promoting, enhancing, and sustaining a positive school climate. Now remember that it includes all those dimensions. So it's not just about safety. It's not just about interrelationships. It is about teaching and learning. But you have to have a vision for including it. Okay, standard 2. The school community sets policies specifically promoting A, the development and sustainability of social, emotional, ethical, civic, and intellectual skills, knowledge, dispositions, and engagement, and B, a comprehensive system to address barriers to learning and teaching and re-engage students who have become disengaged. We have a large problem with truancy, with dropouts, and this standard, and you'll see it come up in the other standards, speaks to that. What are we doing to re-engage these students? And I will say that those who drop out, those who are truant, and the families who think it doesn't matter that young people come to school are highly disconnected to school. They don't feel a part of the school. They don't feel as though they're treated fairly. They're not happy to be there. So these things all fit together. Okay, standard 3. The school community's practices. Now notice standard 1 is about mission and vision. Standard 2 is about policies. Standard 3 is about practices. The school community's practices are identified and prioritized and supported to A, promote the learning and positive social, emotional, ethical, and civic development of students, and B, enhance engagement and teaching and learning and school-wide activities. C, address barriers to learning and teaching and re-engage those who have become disengaged. And this is for students as well as for adults. What are we doing to engage families? What are we doing to make the climate within a faculty positive so people can't wait to get there and not to focus on issues and interrelationships and beefs they have with each other, but so that we're promoting a climate of trust, not one of blame. And finally, to develop and sustain an appropriate operational infrastructure and capacity building mechanisms for meeting this standard. Standard 4, the school community creates an environment where all members are welcomed, supported, and feel safe in school socially, emotionally, intellectually, and physically. And as we follow the hearings and the suggestions and everything that will come out in terms of policies and laws and so on around Sandy Hook, it's imperative that we move beyond what's going to make that school physically safe. We know that. We know we have to do that. And there are experts who are there to make sure that we have the right structures and policies and practices and trappings to make it physically safe. But that's a small part of what a school climate is about. And in the lives of the people who live in schools and have children in schools, most importantly, it's how they feel safe socially, emotionally, and intellectually. And just so we know what we're talking about with intellectual safety, it does include making sure that somebody who raises their hand isn't made fun of when they raise their hand or say something, but also it's about being able to learn in ways that are comfortable for you. Not all students are auditory and visual learners. Many of them are kinesthetic learners. They can't sit still. And in fact, if we look at dropouts and kids who just don't show up for class, very often they are acting out or they're not there because they're not allowed to doodle while they learn. I hesitate to ask how many people are doodling while they learn, because that's how we learn. Kids who have to rock, kids who have to move, we have to accommodate all kinds of learners. That's what is part of removing the barriers to learning. So being intellectually safe is huge. And here's standard 5. The school community develops meaningful and engaging practices, activities, and norms that promote social and civic responsibilities and a commitment to social justice. This is about equity. This is about making sure we meet every learner and every family where they are and take them where they need to go. It does not mean that everybody gets the same thing. That's what SRBI is all about. It's what all of our diversity issues are about. And it does include honoring cultural differences, but it's more than that. Social justice is about equity across the spectrum. Those standards embrace all of these dimensions: safety, interpersonal relationships, teaching and learning, and the environment. So I will say again that I urge you to consider bringing these to your policy committees in your district and to your Board of Ed, and embracing these as a way of framing where we need to go and provide that vision, and make sure you're not missing any components. Your work in the climate, in creating a culture that is positive for everybody, needs to be owned by you. It's not something that external consultants are responsible for. We can all help. The programs can help. But it has to be something that lives within the school and doesn't end when a particular teacher ends, when a particular leader leaves. It has to be part of the fabric of the school and the community. Okay, again, just want to refresh your memory that it is about safety, interpersonal relationships, teaching and learning, and the environment. That's what climate includes. And we want to hammer this home, that if you can look through the lens of what's our purpose and what's our focus, it's a really helpful way to move our thinking away from reaction to really development, to creating the positive kind of community that we want to.